If you're hitting a brick wall with your army, or you've plateaued and you feel like you're stuck and you'd like to try out a new army, this is the video for you. I'm going to cover 2 easy attacks that anybody can do, 2 intermediate attacks, and 2 difficult attacks that you guys can kind of dip your toes in the water if you'd like to. These are going to work for War, CWL, and Legend League. All of these are very, very good armies, so stay tuned. For easy strategy number 1, we've got the Mass Dragon army that I just showed off with a whole bunch of revive spells. You can alter the army a little bit. I've got 5 revives. With an overgrowth, you can take 1 revive out if you want to add a rage or something like that. But the idea of this attack is very simple. You're just going to put your queen and a giant arrow on one side of the base, Royal Champion, and the Siege Barracks on the other. The Siege Barracks has super minions inside of it. And then you're just going to spam all of the dragons in a line and then continuously revive them as heroes die throughout the base when they're being tanked for, right? Now I've got the Dark Orb and the Dark Crown on the Minion Prince. You can substitute the Crown for the Henchman Puppet or the Metal Pants if you'd like. I've got the Healing Tome and Eternal Tome on the Warden. I have the Giant Arrow and the Giant on the Queen, and then the Rocket Spear and the Electro Boots on the Royal Champion. Again, some of these things can be changed a little bit. If you want to take the Rage Gem on the Warden so that you don't have to worry about taking a Rage Spell or something like that, you can alter the army a little bit. I did go 320 with this army the other day. You can check that video out too if you kind of want to see it a little bit more in depth. But typically the overgrowth spell is going to be used for rage towers on the back end, where otherwise your dragons and stuff would struggle with funneling or surviving, or you can use it to kind of help funnel things and keep things together. I kind of just used it in the middle of the base here because I figured I'd be frozen up and I didn't want those multi-infernos in the core attacking a whole bunch of things at once while I was just frozen up, not able to do anything. But we'll go ahead and times 4 through the rest of this replay. You can see you can just revive heroes as you need to. The Minion Prince never ends up even dying on this, so the Phoenix didn't even end up getting used, and I didn't even need to revive him. But let's get into easy strategy number 2. For easy strategy number 2, it's almost the same thing, but with Super Yetis instead of dragons. But we do the funnel a little bit differently. I'm going to use 2, maybe 3 Yetis if I need to in order to set the funnel on one side of the base. The Royal Champion with the Rocket Spear to set the funnel on the other. And then after I have set those 2 funnels, you know, kind of this area here and this area over here, we're just going to charge towards the Town Hall with the log launcher and all of the rest of the stuff basically. Now on this one you kind of want to wait until heroes are being tanked for before you revive them, obviously. And with this one I've got the Unicorn on the Warden and the Sneezy on the Queen on purpose. Feels like my Warden can kind of stand in weird spots sometimes, and the healing from the Unicorn actually does put in a lot of work in order to keep the Warden alive throughout the entirety of the raid. So I would suggest keeping the Unicorn on the Warden if you're going to do this. One thing that you do want to do is try and pop your King ability as late into the base as possible. This was really not an ideal Earthquake Boots and Spiky Ball here. I thought my King was standing more off to the right. I just kind of activated it, and I probably should have used it a little bit later on in the base because that really didn't do a whole lot for the walls at least. So it ends up slowing down a little bit on this attack specifically. But again, you can make slight alterations, like you could remove a revive spell and add an overgrowth if you wanted to, or other little things like that, or if your equipment's not leveled up all the way. I've got the Earthquake Boots and Spiky Ball on the King. I feel like most people probably have that. You could take the Magic Mirror instead of the Giant. I do recommend the Healer Puppet because that's the only source of healing that you've got in this army. You could remove a Super Yeti and add a healer or 2 if you wanted to do that. And then the Rocket Spear and the Electro Boots are pretty important. You could use the Seeking Shield if you wanted to instead of the Electro Boots. But we still end up with 3 heroes alive, so and about 15 or 20 seconds left, so still a pretty easy attack. So let's get into the medium attacks, the ones that are really good but require a little bit of skill in order to master. Let's get into the first medium difficulty attack, a little bit harder than the other ones, but if you have a good grasp on the Royal Champion charge, this is the attack for you. I've got 6 Rocket Loons in this army link that I'll leave here. On this base, I use them to funnel my Royal Champion to the Town Hall, but if you don't need to do that, and you don't need to use those Rocket Loons for funneling your Royal Champion, you can use them to snipe exposed air defenses on the back end of the base if you're using the dragons towards the end, but I use them here for this reason. The goal with the Royal Champion, of course, is to get the core, the center of the base, and so that's what we're going to do here. I've got the Dark Crown on the Minion Prince. You can swap that out for the Henchman Puppet or the Metal Pants. I've got a Snake Bracelet on the King with the Spiky Ball. You can use the Earthquake Boots as well if you'd like to do that. I do run the Healing Tome on the Warden, and some people do run the Rage. I feel like the only time it makes sense to run the Rage Gem over the Healing Tome is if time is an issue, which it really isn't in this attack unless you screw something up, or if you have healing that benefits from the Rage Gem as well, which obviously we don't have in this army. The goal with this attack, we're going to set the funnel. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. We're going to set a funnel with a royal champion. We're going to deploy our dragons and our minion prince on one side of the base, and we're going to deploy the king and the siege barracks filled with super minions on the other side of the base. They're going to kind of work, not necessarily together, but they're going to kind of make this horseshoe shape on the base and kind of meet on the back end. Now, you want to deploy your dragons in a way where they're all going to kind of come in and work together towards a smaller area, right? You don't want to deploy them spaced out along a whole wide area where they're all going to be spread out and not. You want as many dragons in your eternal tome as possible, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if you have 3 or 4 dragons bursting down one defense with 1 or 2 shots, the defense doesn't get nearly as much damage off as if it's one dragon attacking it and it's going to slowly, right? You'll get picked off one by one. So you want the dragons clumped up. That's definitely one thing in this army you do want to pay attention to. This army, as long as you don't screw up the royal champion charge, it is unreal how much overkill you can have with this. You'll see as we come across to the end of this raid here, I'll swag my minion prince ability basically, and we've got like, I think maybe like 2 dragons died. It's pretty insane, to be honest. And probably less would have died if I had used my minion prince ability earlier, but I basically swag it here, right? All right, well, let's get into the second medium skill army that you guys will need to know. All right, the second medium skill army that you'll want to have is the Root Rider, very popular one with double overgrowth right now. We don't even have an Eternal Tome. We've got the Rage Gem and the Healing Tome. Because you've got 2 overgrowths, you can block out so much damage. You don't necessarily need an Eternal Tome, and you would use it anywhere where it would be required anyway. So obviously, everybody's seen this a million times, but we'll give a brief overview. You're setting a funnel. You're breaking the line of defenses so that you can have a good funnel set. After I get this monolith, I'll recall the royal champion. Unfortunately, I didn't keep my spirit fox alive, which definitely should be a priority. We're going to spam the root riders. With this version, I've got the snake bracelet and the spiky ball, and both epics with the queen here. And what you're going to do is you're going to deploy your root riders down. You're going to use your queen to kind of keep them inside, and you're going to use your king ahead of your queen to kind of tank for her. That's kind of the point of this attack. You're going to overgrowth areas that will really ruin the attack, which right here is definitely going to be the town hall. As we ring around the town hall, I don't want that to attack my healers and do that, so I'm literally just going to overgrowth the town hall. Basically, that's all I get. I get the crusher mortar too, but we're going to be out of range the entire duration of it anyway, I think. We pop the healing tome early because it lasts, I think, like 20 something seconds. I don't know exactly. I probably should know, but I don't. So you can pop it early and not have it feel like it's wasted. Then we are going to, I popped the spiky ball here just to keep my root riders inside. I didn't want them pathing out to those defenses that were out there. As soon as this first overgrowth is about to wear out, I'm going to pop my rocket spear. Now, the royal champion would have gotten the town hall here anyway, but the point of having the rocket spear on the royal champion here is to help with these isolated town halls and keep her back away from the defenses so she stays safe a little bit longer. So about the time where that first overgrowth is going to wear out, you're going to want to pop the rocket spear, and she'll stay back and stay safe, especially if you've lost your spirit fox early on like I did here. That helps a lot. And then use your second overgrowth where the high damage areas of the base are. And then by the time this overgrowth wears off, we're basically on top of this area with our entire army. We can just burst it down really quickly anyway. So that's kind of the idea behind this attack. With the king, you could run the earthquake boots if you don't have the snake bracelet leveled up. With the queen, you could run the healer puppet instead of either of these equipments, and it would be fine. You could run the healing tome and the eternal tome if you want to with the warden, but I do like the rage with the healers. And then we've got the rocket spear is pretty important. But obviously so is the electro boots. But you could run the hog puppet instead of the rocket spear if you wanted to. If there's not an isolated town hall, you definitely can get away with not having the rocket spear. Let's go to the hard armies. These are the ones that I like. All right, the first of the hard strategies that we're going to go over is one that I've probably shown off a million billion times on the channel recently, is the mass furnace fireball attack. Now, if this, I really think, in my opinion, is like the highest ceiling army in the game right now in terms of like, maybe Rocket Loon Fireball could be, but the amount of attention that it would be required to multitask as much as what you can do with this, doing it kind of for you with the spamminess of the furnaces, it makes, honestly, I think makes this army better. And if anybody disagrees with that, you should remove them from your top 8 friends in MySpace because they don't belong there anymore because they're wrong. We don't want wrong people in our top 8, okay? So Flame Flinger, obviously ideal, but you don't need to use one. Once you set your funnel with your Warden, CC or either of the spell towers are usually my targets. That's kind of the thing. I usually look for one of those three things when I start out looking for a raid like this. And then once my warden picks a direction, I'll put my heroes in the other direction so that they don't mingle and intermix or whatever. They've removed each other from the top 8 on their MySpace, so they kind of want to stay away from each other. They're fighting. And did I mean to accidentally not put my royal or my archer queen down on this and then swag 2 heroes? No, but that's kind of how it worked out. I didn't even realize until like way later on. I'm like, where's my archer queen? Oh, whoops, I didn't even put her down yet. But at that point, the base had already basically been 3-starred. This attack, I've attacked this base a million times, so keep that in mind. This is an attack where I can consistently swag my royal champion. I have lots of time left at the end. I think I've only failed twice in Legend League in the past like 80 something attacks. This is an army I feel like I could do this with my eyes closed. Maybe that's a video I'll do or something. It's insanely strong. Yeah, I don't know how I still didn't notice I hadn't put my queen down yet. I'm just probably thinking like, what the heck? My heroes didn't get any value. What the heck happened? It wasn't until my warden's being attacked by the single Inferno War, I'm like, what the heck? I still have my queen, so I was getting ready to put my royal champion down. But yeah, you can see just the amount of overkill with this army. It's pretty insane. It's becoming very popular too. I'm getting hit by this army once or twice, well, probably about once a day, maybe once every other day at the most. But it's frequent enough to where like I'm seeing it all the time in Legend League now. And a lot of the clan people that I play with and stuff are using it too. So I see it a lot in clan wars and stuff. But definitely recommend this army. It's a lot. It's kind of difficult to learn. A lot of ins and outs. It's not an army where you can copy and paste it. So you've got to be able to think for yourself, which requires a deep understanding of how the game works in order to be able to use it well. But it's very rewarding when you can 3-star with this army. Okay, and then the last of the more difficult ones, I'm going to put the thrower army here. Now there's several variations that are all pretty good, and I'm going to include kind of Rocket Loom Fireball with the Mass Furnace. They're both very similar with how they work, and then all of the thrower armies kind of with this, and even super witches are kind of a little bit more difficult, and they work this way. Now, start off with a fireball. I really like to, since you can swag your royal champion with this strategy a fair amount as well, I really like to just use my royal champion to complete the funnel. So I'm going to have my throwers come this way, and I'm going to use the royal champion to clear out part of the base so that it forces them towards the middle. That's kind of the goal with my royal champion. Now, I completely forgot that all of my Teslas and stuff are up there, so it kind of messes things up. And my troop launcher wants to throw them to my royal champion for whatever reason, so I don't really understand that. But this is the very first attack I did, so I'm not like cherry picking or anything. We're going to ice block the Root Riders and the King. We want them to stay healthy because I want to use my King ability as late into the attack as possible. Ideally to open up like the walls over here because I've placed my jump right over here. So we use the King ability really late, and because of that, we're going to use an ice block spell to keep him nice and healthy and prevent him from dying really early on in the raid, or at least going to ability. After this, you're basically just using spells as you need them to. I use my Invis spell here to keep my King alive a little bit longer too. That way I don't have to use his ability right there. Ideally, I want to use it right where that Fire Spitter is, which is where I'd pop it like right now, I think. And I think we get, honestly, maybe the worst case for the spiky ball. I wish it would have bounced towards the monolith. It would have been much better. And this one does get kind of close towards the end, but again, I'm not like cherry picking the attack. This is the first attempt, and I haven't done this in a little while, but this attack is very good. I'm pretty sure I went 320 with this a few different times with a couple of variations of this army in Legend League, so you can check those videos out as well. Big Country has a lot of videos on the thrower army as well, but that's going to do it. So you guys have 2 easy strategies, 2 medium strategies, and 2 hard strategies. If I were to include every single viable attack, there'd be 15 or 20. So because of that, I'm going to keep it simple with probably the most popular of all of those categories. Any of these are going to work in Legend League. Any of these are going to work in CWL. Any of these are going to work in Clan Wars. All of these attacks are very, very strong and very versatile, which is what you want. So that's going to do it for this video. I'll see you guys next time.